What if I told you that the creative power of the entire universe wasn't some force way out in the cosmos, but something that you use every single day, maybe without even realizing it? Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the mind-bending work of the mystic Neville Goddard, who made the truly wild claim that your own imagination is God. Now, we've all probably heard some version of this idea, right? It's a pretty foundational concept in many beliefs, this idea that there's a divine, all-powerful spirit, and that it's not somewhere else, it's right here, inside of us. It's a really powerful and comforting thought. But that leads to the big question, the one Neville Goddard's work really makes you ask, okay, so if this creative, all-powerful spirit is inside us, what is it? What is it really? And how in the world do we access it? That's the mystery he has spent his life trying to solve. And Goddard's answer is, well, it's one of those things that's so simple, it's actually revolutionary. He wasn't talking about some ancient ritual or a deity up in the clouds. Nope. He said this spirit, this power of God, is a part of you that you know intimately, and you use it every single day. Yup, you heard that right. According to Neville Goddard, your own wonderful human imagination is God. He believed it wasn't just a tool for daydreaming or fantasy. No, he said it is the one and only creative power. It's the spiritual cause behind every single thing that happens in the physical world. Now, this idea completely flips our normal way of thinking on its head. We think A causes B, which causes C. But Goddard said, nope, that's a delusion. The real cause is always something that happens first in imagination. The physical stuff we see, that's just the echo, the after effect. So I know this might sound like a pretty wild theory, but here's the thing. For Goddard, this wasn't just a theory at all. It was something he experienced firsthand, and in some pretty incredible ways. Let's dig into one of his most famous stories about how he discovered this. So picture this. He's lying in his bed one night, totally awake, when this vision just appears in front of him. And it wasn't some blurry dream. He said it was as clear and real as a painting, showing the inside of a fancy hotel suite. And this is where it gets really weird. His focus, his actual consciousness just followed his gaze. And he felt himself literally move into the picture. He went from being an observer looking at a scene to actually being inside of it. The second he stepped in, that flat 2D image just exploded into a full 3-dimensional solid world all around him. In his own words, it took on cubic reality. The painting became a place. And he didn't just stand there in awe. He started testing things. The room felt totally solid. He walked over, opened a real door, and stepped into a corridor. He even tried to explain to 2 women he met that they were all in his imagination, and, well, they thought he was completely crazy and rushed off. Everything he touched, even a chandelier, felt just as solid and real as the world he just left. But then this very practical, kind of scary thought hits him. He has a wife, a daughter, a life to get back to. His actual physical body is lying on a bed thousands of miles away. So how do you get back from a place that feels just as real as reality itself? And then he remembered the secret, the key he'd discovered before. It was all about feeling. So, right there in that imaginary hotel, he just closed his eyes and assumed the feeling of his head being back on his pillow in his bedroom. And after a moment, poof, he was right back in his body. Okay, so that's a pretty mystical story, right? But Goddard was insistent that this law wasn't just for out-of-body adventures. He used the exact same principle to solve a very real-world serious problem, trying to get an honorable discharge from the Army during World War II. After he started applying his imagination technique to his Army situation, he had this incredible vision. A hand appeared out of nowhere, took his discharge papers, which were stamped disapproved, crossed it out, and wrote approved. And then a voice said, "That which I have done, do nothing." So what was this powerful technique he used? It was so simple. Every single night, as he lay on his uncomfortable Army bunk in Louisiana, he would he would feel that he was already back in his own apartment in New York City. He'd feel his own bed, mentally walk through the rooms, touch the familiar furniture, until it felt absolutely real. He just kept doing it, night after night, and that persistence led directly to the vision. And you know what? The outside world had to catch up. Just 10 days after that vision, the very same colonel who had denied his request called him in, approved his discharge without any explanation, and sent him on his way. He was literally on a train home that night. So, this brings it all back to us. We've heard the theory, we've heard the stories, but how can you and I actually use this principle of feeling it real in our own lives? The key is a complete shift in your perspective. Most of us think of our current reality as solid and real, and our dreams as, well, just dreams, right? Shadowy possibilities. Goddard's method asks you to flip that. You have to go into your imagination, into your desired reality, and give it all the substance, all the cubic reality, until it feels more real than anything else. The secret, he said, isn't about just picturing something you want off in the distance. It's about feeling. That creative power isn't out there somewhere. It's right here, so close you can feel after him and find him. So you stop asking, how can I get that? And start asking, what would it feel like if I had it right now? So here's the nuts and bolts. First, you gotta know what you want. Be specific. Select the state you want to experience. Second, find the feeling. Ask yourself, if this were already true, what would it feel like? And he means the quiet, natural feeling of it being normal, not the crazy excitement of it just happening. Third, you assume that feeling. You wear it like a suit of clothes until it feels totally real. And finally, you persist. You go back to that feeling again and again, especially as you're falling asleep, and trust that the world will begin to reflect it. And that really just leaves us with one final massive question. If this is true, if your own wonderful human imagination is the one and only creative power, then you're not just a passenger in your life. You're the one in the driver's seat. So, what reality are you going to create?